Welcome back, everyone. Kevin Shea, joined by Jim Wilson, the sports editor for the Telegram and Gazette and Home Team Magazine. Willie, now we are into the Central Mass Super Bowls. Finally, if I say finally, it's only week 9, really, but Central Mass Super Bowls, and that's what these are. You can call them, they can call them district championships. They're Central Mass Super Bowls, and always will be Central Mass Super Bowls. We'll go through the matchups, and we can talk about the matchups and how each team got there even, too. St. John's, Neshoba, Division I. You and I talking about this. Oh, that's true. Division II. Division II. Top spot out here. But no. We have a true state champion, just not in Division I and III. It's the Eastern Mass champ. All right.
And we're off.
Division II, we're off and running. St. John's and Neshoba. He's winding me up, folks. I'm like Don Cherry over here. My kind of guy, put it there. All right, Division II, we got St. John's and Neshoba. Neshoba is my Bill Belichick team. Do your job, because that's what it is. They have every guy, 11 guys on the field, do your job. They all do their job. Nothing flashy, nothing fancy, no big names. Right. They may not have a super teamer on the team, which even is a bigger testament to how good they are and what a true team they are in the ultimate team sport. St. John's and Neshoba, though, good matchup.
Yeah, not to, it's like I said, don't put it on the board yet because that's not a shot.
Right.
That's just, like I said, that's how good Neshoba is because they have, it's like a next man up thing. If you want to stop, you want to try to focus on stopping Jake Benjamin in the running game, that's fine. They got Nate Mansell, they got Egan Bachtel, they got about 4 or 5 other running backs that get about 10 carries a game.
Yeah.
So they have the wing T offense. Everybody gets a touch, and if you can't, you can slow one guy down. You got to slow 4 more down. By then, they've already put up 28 points.
Right, and that's one of the things I saw them play Marlboro last week. If you count the quarterback, 5 different players carrying the football from the time I saw him. Now, as you mentioned with the wing T offense, and they run that wing T offense so well, they'll have 2 running backs, and they're running them steady diet, going to the right, going to the right, going to the right. So now your linebackers and safeties, and everyone's flowing to their left, going to the right, and all of a sudden the wing back comes back on a counter, and that's a 3rd running back, and everyone's flowing this way, boom, he's off your hip, and he's gone for a 30-yard gain. And they run that wing T so well, and I give a lot of credit, too, to Atwood, the quarterback, because, as you and I were saying, you have to have good feet. You have to have quick feet because you have guards pulling, you have tackles pulling. There's a lot of movement, and the quarterback has to keep it all there, reverse pivots, open pivots. He does a great job running that offense, and he can throw the ball, too, when needed. But, the main thing is work that offense, work that ground game, and he shows great quickness and poise.
Mike Kirtley's a great line for them. I mean, there's, like I said, there's not one ultimate superstar. Like in the past, they've had like a Zach Hume or one of those guys they can sort of rely on. He's their stud. They have a lot of really good athletes on that team.
Juku,
exactly.
Really fast running back.
Exactly. So it's like one of those. They don't have that kind of team this year, but because they have a lot of A players. They have the guys they can rely on every week to be the focus point.
Right.
Which I think makes them dangerous. That's why they haven't been beaten yet.
And what they have, too, is they have, when you look at size-wise even, and I've said this looking at this team, they have some tall guys on the line. They're not huge. They're very strong. They're very explosive. These guys can all move, great feet, great quickness, and they are very, very explosive. And defensively, you see it on offense. Defensively, you see it as well. They swarm to the football, and when they get there, they're hitting. They are a physical team.
Right. So their guys come off an assembly line. They all come on the same 6'1", 2'8".
That's what it is.
Exactly. It's just this boom, boom, kind of guys. The same thing with their defense. There's not one superstar. There's not, like I mentioned, Hume on defense a couple years ago. I mean, he was the guy that you had to worry about. Where's this guy? You're looking for a number before every play because they have guys. The Kyle Hume, Kennan, is another great player. They have all these guys that just next man up, get a lot of hats to the ball, and they can shut teams down.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's very impressive what they've done, and to be undefeated, and they beat Leominster. Okay, now St. John's beat Leominster last week, and the interesting dynamic there is St. John's played Leominster 2 weeks ago, and they kept it kind of vanilla. Now they played to win, but they didn't want to show Leominster anything, so they didn't put any different kind of wrinkles in defensively or offensively. Right. It was, we're going to play some kind of straight, almost like it was the preseason game. We're going to give you base packages. We're still going to try to win because we'd like home field advantage, but we're not showing you everything because we know the bigger game, the money game, is that playoff game. And one of the biggest differences that game 2 weeks ago, Leominster got out to a really quick lead and a big lead. That didn't happen last week in the semifinals, and St. John's played a really good game. You and I talking about Tim Cassidy. The way he's throwing the ball, he's such a great weapon running, and he's such a physical runner, and he pounds people, but he's been throwing the ball vertically really, really good, hitting guys in stride and seams.
Yeah, he doesn't have any top caliber weapons either. He has like Neshoba.
Right.
A lot of very good athletes in the receiver corps Cassidy's probably his own running back. He's running for about 800 yards, 600 yards or so.
Right.
So he's their top running back, and he doesn't have like a Shane Combs or Ephraim Montalvo or anything like that kind of guys they've had in the past that can sort of take over a game in the air. Right. So he has guys like Cam Lucy, Nick Pilata, those guys who can do the job when they need it every week, which I think which makes them dangerous.
No, you're right. And you look at the Neshoba running backs, and they're all about 5'10" to 6 feet, and all about 185 to 200. And those the St. John's wide receivers are all about 5'10" to 6 feet, and 165 to 185. Or 190. It's interesting. Now, Division 4, Holy Name and Grafton. If we had set odds before the season that this is going to be the Super Bowl, if we had our version of Vegas odds, whoever bet this would make a lot of money, because this was a long shot going into the season, and even a couple weeks into the season when you're talking about Holy Name. But two teams that earned the right to be here. Now, Grafton's been up in that mix the whole time, but Holy Name, really starting with that Bedford game on the road, rolling, kind of been an underdog every week.
Right.
But they're a team that's, Kevin Mensah gets a ton of the attention, and rightly so. He's such a great running back. But now you get Leck in there. They are a team right now that's, and that double wing kind of breeds that too. Very unselfish, a lot of weapons, everyone doing their job.
Yeah, get there early this game. This will take about half hour to play. These two guys, Grafton and Holy Name, running the ball. Great running game all across the board. You talked to Holy Name coach Mike Pucko. He must be scratching his head to wonder how they've gotten here at this point, especially in last week. You want to know how good Holy Name's become. You look at the game against Dory last week where they fall behind about 15, 16 points early, and they come back and they end up hanging on. But it's a different team. The third quarter, they come back, they get a quick touchdown, recover a kickoff, get another touchdown off that play. Pretty soon, they're coming back in that game and get a convincing win. That says a lot of how much that team has changed at the beginning of the year, how good they are. They have Mensah's probably one of the best running backs around. I mean, he's a game changer every time he touches the ball.
Right.
You got guys like Leck who's coming up. Both teams are like those classic Holy Name teams back with Price and Iguanagu, 2,000-yard capable running backs in the backfield. And I think that just makes them all dangerous. Who do you watch?
Right, and they had two of their alums there. They had Iguanagu or Iguanagu, however you want to pronounce it. When he was here, he was Iguanagu, but they had Emil and Nick Haig, both on the sideline, two great players in Naps history. When you look at this Grafton team, and O'Brien's one of my favorite players in Central Mass because he's an old school football player. Put him anywhere on the field. He's, what does he weigh? 170, 175. Plays the game like he's 6'4", 225. Runs so hard. Runs into people. Never wants to run out of bounds. Wants to run someone over at the end of the play. He just seeks contact, and he's such a tough kid. And, it belies his size because, like I said, he plays like he's 50 pounds heavier and 4 inches taller than he really is.
It's a classic kind of guy. When you talk about those blue-collar double-wing offenses, that's the kind of guy they need. And now they got, Efito Melanfau in the backfield with him. And they seem to be giving him a lot more touches in the last couple of weeks. And that's almost changed the whole trajectory of the Grafton team. He's been really getting, I think last week they both had 2 touchdowns. 2 weeks ago against Nipmuc, I think Melanfau almost had 200 yards rushing. So having that kind of 1-2 punch is making them so much more dangerous because they're a good enough team where they can get those yards, and you can't really focus on one player over the other.
And that's the biggest thing there is you talk about running backs being fresh in the second half. And when it was just O'Brien doing the lion's share of the running, by the second half of the game, he's exhausted and he's worn out. He's still churning up yards. He's still looking for contact, but he's exhausted. Now with Melifonwu in there, and you started to see this shift almost a little bit in the offense in that Auburn game. Melifonwu is so smooth. He looks like he's gliding out there. It looks effortless. He's jumping over cornerbacks. He's running over people. He's slipping in between linebackers. Just so smooth. So now you have two guys that can go 100% every single time because they don't have to worry about, well, I'm going to carry the ball 45 times, so I still need something in the tank in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. It's when my number's called, I'm going, and if it's not, he's going. And that's what Holy Name has. So it's a great matchup of two teams with a balanced running attack, two teams that are very physical, that would love this game to be played within the hash marks. You could say, we're going to cut the field right down the middle in the hash marks and only play between the hash marks. Both teams would be like, that's fine with us. Yeah. Let's go. Head up. I'm going to knock you backwards, and I'm going to go knock him down.
That Grafton defense is good. I mean, holding Tantasco with just 7 points. That's a potentially explosive offense. We talked about them last week. It's a game that can get out of control fast, and they didn't let that happen. They kept it close. We'll talk about later when they get to like West Boylston. They're the same kind of way. They sort of just keep it close and let the offense take it over.
All right, Division 5, Northbridge and Uxbridge. It's the Thanksgiving Day rivalry. So much history between these two teams, and in this game, again, normally though the Thanksgiving Day rivalry, this time for a Central Mass Super Bowl, and then they'll play on
again.
Thanksgiving. So very impressive. It's going to be a great game, I think. And one thing you're talking is emotion.
Right.
And this game, before we even get into the personnel, you talk about emotion, and both teams are going to be fired up for this one just because of what it means in each town.
I think that's great. I mean, there's no secrets between these guys. They know what each other what each other has in the bag. I think that's going to be a key. I want to see how Uxbridge defense's response to this, because you look at that. I mean, 396 points for the Northbridge offense. That's pretty impressive. They've only given up 13, and last week against Oakmont was a late touchdown. So to have that kind of, you almost want to put, find guys like Brent Whitlock and and Kyle Shukanik. Those guys, you have to sort of find out who. I don't know if they can man up on these weapons that Northbridge has. What can we say about Northbridge? We haven't already.
Right.
But they sort of need to don't let these guys get out of control and try to limit the damage, because he's not going to shut them out.
Right.
It's a matter of just trying to keep close, because with Max White Cohen, that Uxbridge offense is explosive as well.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing the Northbridge secondary against the Uxbridge aerial attack, because as you mentioned, White Cohen, he brought the team back in the second half last week against Leicester. It was his throwing, not ideal conditions on that Saturday, very windy, it was a little colder, and White Cohen just kept picking his spots. He's got Oliver Sawyer, he's got a lot of good weapons out there, but he's a good quarterback with a strong arm and an accurate arm. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing these matchups and seeing who comes out on top, and if a guy like Keenan Quinama can get pressure on him.
Their only losses were to St. Bernard's and Grafton. They're both playing for Super Bowl titles in the Saturday.
Right.
So I mean, Uxbridge has been tested. They've been doing a pretty good job. They almost came back against Leicester. I mean, St. Bernard's rather 2 weeks ago, and that won that loss. They came back to them in the second half. So that's dangerous. I don't think it's one of those games. It's a good thing Northbridge looks like they can score 40 points a game, because they're going to probably need all those 40 points.
And one thing, you and I have brought this up before, the one thing you can't account for is your scout team can't replicate Northbridge, how quick they are, how deep they are. You could have one player maybe and say, okay, he's going to be Chandler Brooks, but you're forgetting about the other guys. No one can replicate Chauffeur and and then Quinney on defense. It's as much as you can prepare for it until they get out there and it's game speed. It is. You played Grafton's a Super Bowl team and St. Bernard's is a Super Bowl team. No one in Central Mass is like Northbridge.
Right, exactly. I think it's going to be a great game just to watch the firepower.
And then Division 6, West Boylston, St. Bernard's. Another upset special, especially for West Boylston, getting there, knocking off Littleton, two-time Central Mass Super Bowl champ, two-time state Super Bowl. They won it 2 years ago. Last year they were in the state Super Bowl. Everyone was kind of predicting, hey, they're going to be there again for the third straight year, even though it might not have been as good as a team as the last year or the last 2 years. But how about the West Boylston Lions and the job that Mike Ross did his first year there? And, obviously Cole McCrubery deserves a lot of credit, but you still got 11 guys on the field. And it doesn't matter how good one player is, even if he is the Mike Allstott of Central Mass, you still need other guys blocking for him. And you still need, the quarterback, Tim McQuaid, running the show.
In the last six games, the West Boylston defense only given up a touchdown twice. More than one touchdown in 2 games. So I think, you look at McCrubery, and obviously he's going to be the focal point. But that defense showed last week what they can do. I think Mike Ross made it a point to just show how tough that defense is. They wore them down. They sort of kept that, we talked about earlier with that game, just don't let the game get out of control. And then they sort of limit their chances. If they can keep it within 7 points, it's going to be a winnable game for them with a weapon like McCrubery.
And they did that. And one of the things I like about West Boylston is the coaching staff doesn't panic. In that first half, Littleton really bottled up McCrubery. Every time he got the ball, he'd get 1 or 2 steps, and there were 2 or 3 Littleton players already on him and swallowing up. They did a great job. They were so quick getting to the football. They wrapped up real well, but they stuck with the plan. West Boylston stuck with the plan. They adjusted a couple things in terms of blocking, schematically blocking, but they stuck with the plan. They wore them down, and you and I talked about this. This team is so much more physical and so much tougher now than they were 2.5 months ago when they started with Mike Ross in this program. And it showed. It showed on Friday night at Littleton.
That's Rossi and Tooch and all those guys putting their stamp on it, and just basically, like you said, Littleton in the first half, they can probably absorb those McCrubery hits. Right. But getting 20 of them over the course of the game, that sort of wears you down. And maybe you sort of have the alligator arms going and make tackles next time because you don't want to wrap this guy because he's just going to bruise you.
He's a beast, and he's going to just punish and punish and
punish. From cream puffs to cup for championships.
And to Navy SEALs.
Exactly.
That was the speech last week. St. Bernard's quarterback Cooper Bigelow, it all starts with him. And whether it's running the ball, throwing the ball, he is your number one, defensively, he's your number one focal point. And what he makes you do is, whether it's you have to spy him with a linebacker, spy him with a safety, but you have to make sure that you your pass rush is contained to kind of keep him in a certain area, and then you have to prevent him from ripping off a big run. And then, if you do focus too much on that, he drops one over the top. He's got big play pace capabilities.
That's what the big thing is, and they got to watch the big play on here because that's what St. Bernard's lives and dies on. They love, they can be. You might want to stop them on one set and down, but they rarely go 3 and out. They love the big touchdown pass. They've only been held under 28 points twice this year. So I think, and they played, with that schedule. You want to say, okay, well, they're building a Dual Valley Conference, they played Division 6, but they're still, in the big games, like against Uxbridge and teams like that, they've shown up, they've done a good job in that. They got Cooper Bigelow, they got A.J. Robichaud in the running game, he's a good running back. Parker Bigelow, Zach Merchant in the air, they have weapons. So, I mean, it's not like they have, you bottle up one guy, and they can sort of, contain.
They're the Oakland Raiders of old. They want to air it out, they want the big play and big points up there. All right, Jim, thanks for joining us as always. Next week, we'll be talking about who the Central Mass Super Bowl champs are and looking ahead to the state semis.
You brush up my Wakona knowledge.
All right. He's Jim Wilson. I'm Kevin Shea. We're back with plenty more of the Frenzy Extra right after this.